you to hear the truth from me, as much as I can share, not as a prince or a duke, but as Harry.
This week, Harry and Meghan begin their brand new life, and we break it all down with the People cover story.
We are taking a leap of faith, so thank you for giving me the courage to take this next step.
Welcome to another very special edition of The Royal Report. I'm your host, Sharon Carpenter, and joining us today, the writer of this week's cover story, People senior news editor Erin Hill is here.
Hey.
Erin, it's great to see you.
Great to see you. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
We're excited to have you. Now, with so much happening the past few weeks, I want to take a quick moment to remind everyone how we got here. We're taping this on Tuesday, February 4th, so it's been nearly a month since Harry and Meghan's stunning announcement via Instagram that they'd be stepping back from royal life. Now, what stepping back would actually mean was, of course, the question on everyone's minds, including the Queen's. Within 3 hours, the palace released a statement saying that discussions were at an early stage and that it will take time to work through these complicated issues. That was January 8th. 5 days later, the Sandringham Summit, that's where the Queen met with key members of the royal family, including Charles, William and Harry, to figure out exactly what stepping back was going to mean for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Then, on January 18th, 5 days after that unprecedented meeting, the palace released a statement which outlined Harry and Meghan's new arrangement. So, Erin, what did the statement say exactly? What didn't it say? And how is it defined what stepping back means for Harry and Meghan?
We got a lot of information from this statement, and what really stood out for the Queen to deliver the statement in such a personal manner, using terms like my grandson and the family supports them. It was a very loving tenderness coming from the monarch that is really kind of letting two really important senior members go. What we learned from this is that they are no longer going to be able to use their HRH titles, which is His and Her Royal Highness, that they are no longer going to be accepting a sovereign grant, which is taxpayer-funded money, which is something that they wanted.
They'll be making their own money now.
Correct. Harry lost several of his military appointments. They have also agreed to pay back the $3 million that went towards renovations for Frogmore Cottage, which was paid for by the taxpayers, and that they are just going to spend more time in North America and during this period of transition. And then we learned from sources that this is going to be kind of all revisited in a year. So a lot of information.
A lot of information. Now, you mentioned losing their HRH titles. How significant is this, or maybe not? Is Meghan still going to be a duchess? Do I still curtsy when I meet her?
You know, all the protocol is still in place. They aren't going to be able to use the HRH status, but they weren't stripped of it. They still have it. They just can't use it in any official capacity when they step out and do new partnerships or any new charity visits or things like that. They won't have it there. You know, like what we sometimes see on tables, HRH and things in front of them. So we won't see that, but they still are considered it. They still have Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles, so they still are considered the Duke and Duchess. The one thing that we don't have full clarity on is the use of Sussex Royal, which is what they use for their foundation, for their Instagram page. I think a lot of that is still being figured out in what capacity they can use that.
Interesting.
So still some more details coming out.
And Prince Harry, of course, will always be a prince.
Always be a prince, absolutely, yeah.
Now, you mentioned a People source has revealed that this new arrangement will be revisited and reviewed in about a year's time. So is it fair to say this is really a work in progress?
A little bit, and I think this can also be viewed as a little bit of a probation period. I mean, this is also new.
Let's see if it works.
Right. Let's see what happens. Let's see what they do with it, and if it's still in line with something the Queen would approve of, that would be on behalf of the Crown. You know, there may not be senior working members anymore, but there will always be members of the royal family. So is this in line with you know, a lot of the traditions and things that the Queen would like to uphold?
Now, the day after the palace statement on January 19th, Harry attended an event for his charity, Centre Barley, where he spoke for the very first time about his very difficult decision. Take a look.
It brings me great sadness that it has come to this. And I know I haven't always gotten it right, but as far as this goes, there really was no other option.
The following day, Harry flew to Canada to rejoin his wife and baby Archie on Vancouver Island, which brings us to today. The Duke and Duchess are roughly 2 weeks into their new life. Erin, what can you tell us about how this new life is looking for them so far? Lots of smiles.
Absolutely. I mean, we're hearing that they're very happy with this decision, that immediately when Meghan returned, she seemed less stressed, that they're enjoying living a quiet life in Canada. And we've already seen them kind of step out and start to support some projects. Meghan has flown to Vancouver, where she met with some girls' organizations championing women's rights and women's issues. So yeah, hitting the ground running, but still kind of getting the lay of the land, establishing roots, enjoying some quiet time with Archie, and just kind of reestablishing their footing.
And they're actually in Vancouver Island. Why is this a place that's close to their heart? Why is this the right fit for them right now at this current time?
Yeah, Vancouver Island is really a nature lover's oasis. And we know they love spending time outside. So we're hearing that they're going on long walks and hikes with Archie and their 2 dogs. Yoga, I mean, this is a really kind of holistic area with like juices and smoothies and yoga and outside. And like these are all things that Meghan loves, and Harry has learned to love through Meghan. He's been brought into this sort of California lifestyle, so her being back on the West Coast is perfect for her. She's back home in a way.
What can you tell us about their daily routines? Where exactly are they staying? Who are some of the people they're hanging out with? And what's going on day to day? You did mention some of the daily activities.
Yeah, so they're right now staying at a $14 million mansion on Vancouver Island, while they're likely house hunting for something a little more permanent.
And that's a friend's place. Correct,
yeah. And that they are just sort of, you know, we're hearing that they're very much homebodies. Meghan's cooking, they're doing yoga, they're just spending some quiet time with Archie, they're out doing hikes. They're just kind of like everyone else. I mean, we're hearing from friends that they really are just young parents just wanting to live a normal life, and this was a huge part of the reason to step back from their royal duties, was to have this, and to have this for Archie and for themselves.
The new normal.
The new normal, absolutely.
Erin, great reporting as always. Thanks. We'll see you soon.
Yes.
Okay, we need to take a quick break. We'll be coming right back with People Senior Royals editor Michelle Tauber.
The fact that I fell in love with Meghan so incredibly quickly was a sort of confirmation to me that everything, all the stars were aligned, everything was just perfect. It was this beautiful woman just sort of literally tripped and fell into my life. I fell into her life. And the fact that I know the fact that she'll be really unbelievably good at the job part of it as well, is obviously a huge relief to me, because she'll be able to deal with everything else that comes with it.
And there is the kiss that everyone was hoping for and waiting for.
It brings me great sadness that it has come to this. The decision that I have made for my wife and I to step back is not one I made lightly. It was so many months of talks after so many years of challenges. And I know I haven't always gotten it right, but as far as this goes, there really was no other option.
Welcome back to the special People cover story edition of the Royal Report. Joining me now, People Senior Royals editor Michelle Tauber. Michelle, how are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you, Sharon.
Great to have you. Now, we just played a clip of Harry's speech from January 19th, where he said there was no other option than to step back. Hard to believe that was just 20 months removed from one of the greatest royal weddings of all time. Michelle, how did we get here, and how did we get here so soon?
It really has been a whirlwind, from watching the clips from the engagement and how much hope and happiness there was there, to the pretty grim tone that Harry struck in that speech, announcing that it had come to this. We have sources who have told us that it's no single factor that led to this break from the family, but rather a series of them. All families are complicated. The royal family is no exception, and they have their own added complications. But we know that Harry and Meghan both felt increasingly estranged from the family, from feeling that they were being heard, recognized for the things they wanted to do. We know that they were feeling frustrated by the limitations, by, we have a source who said, the ribbon cuttings were not really what they wanted to be doing. They wanted to be thinking globally. The financial restrictions were oppressive to them. They wanted to be free to earn their own money. So all of those factors were at play here.
And it was a struggle for Meghan getting used to this new culture as well.
It absolutely was. One source told us, Meghan felt deeply, deeply hurt by the culture clash, again, by feeling that she was, not truly welcomed into that world. And of course, by, the tabloids and the, some of the racially charged treatment that she got there, all of which made her feel that she wanted out.
Yeah. Now, Michelle, you've also reported that there'd been signs of Harry perhaps leaving or distancing himself from the royal family long before he'd even met Meghan.
Yeah, that was really interesting to us when we were reporting this story, that several people who know Harry said there's the royal Harry and then there's the Harry that his friends and family know, and that those two people have been at odds for quite some time, and that Harry, was experiencing some inner conflict for some time about wanting to break free. Again, part of this is the fact that Harry is not the heir to the throne like his older brother William is. And that sense of, if I'm not in training to be king, what am I doing here? And can I carve out a more meaningful role for myself?
Okay, let's move on to William and Kate. What are your sources telling you about how they've been doing this past month? Of course, in the beginning, Kate was very much a part of the story, with the announcement coming the day before her 38th birthday. Since then, we've seen her out several times by herself and a couple of times with William as well. But how do they seem to be handling all of this?
Yeah, we have seen them out quite a bit, actually. They've had a busy schedule. And we also have a source in this week's cover story telling us that when Harry and Meghan left, listen, it wasn't on good terms, according to this source. However, another source told us that they're both relieved, and that the second source said that, they're starting to sort of be able to begin the communications again, and things are warming up somewhat.
Okay, let's talk about Charles. At first, there was speculation that Harry and Meghan stepping back was actually a direct result of Charles' rumoured goal of slimming down the monarchy, but then he officially denied those claims. And you reported recently that a source said Prince Charles had always envisioned working with both his sons and their family. So what are you hearing now about how Charles feels about this new arrangement?
Yeah, that's right. We had a source tell us it's not true, despite the fact that, yes, the royal family has clearly put an emphasis on the direct line of succession. We saw the photo over the holiday of the Queen, Prince Charles, Prince William, and Prince George, the four heirs together. Despite that, Harry and whoever he married, of course, that turned out to be Meghan, were always part of Charles's plan in terms of who would be the focal members of the family to carry out their work. But I think there is a sadness. Listen, I think anytime as a parent that you see your children drift away, that you see tensions between your children, as siblings, that's a strain. And I think, what we've had many sources tell us is they obviously, the royal family wants Meghan and Harry to be happy, and they want ultimately for everyone to be able to come back together.
Okay, so finally, the Queen. How's she holding up? 93 years old. She was reportedly taken off guard at first and not too happy about the situation. Then we were hearing there was a lot of hurt within the palace. And then 2 weeks ago, we learned that she had a cold and needed to take a sick day, right? So what are you hearing now from your sources about the Queen?
Yeah, that's right. She's had a little bit of a rough start here to 2020. And I think one thing people need to keep in mind is how close Harry and the Queen are. And Harry also shares a really special bond with Prince Philip. But, don't forget that when Harry was launching Invictus a couple years ago, he enlisted his grandma, the Queen, to do that boom, drop the mic moment with the Obamas. And I think that really reflects this special bond they have. The Queen wouldn't just do that for any of her grandchildren, let alone just anyone, but even her own grandchildren. Harry is special to her. And I think, as you say, we have a source saying there's a lot of hurt. She's certainly not pleased about it. I would think for her, again, duty first, any one of her family stepping back from duty is kind of really foreign to her. But she wants Harry to be happy. She wants him to be able to raise his family the way he wants to. So I think it's for her weighing, her own kind of priorities versus what she wants for her grandchildren.
Got it. Okay, Michelle, last question for you. Given everything that's happened over the past month and everything you've been hearing, what do you think the future looks like? What does Harry and Meghan's life look like a year from now, let's say?
Yeah, get out my crystal ball.
Let's get it out.
I think one of the things we heard most recently is, when they released their initial statement, they said, we're going to be dividing our time between North America and the UK. We're still going to have our Frogmore cottage home, and that's where we'll be. In this week's cover story, we heard from a source who said they really are not going to be spending much time back in the UK. They will be very Canada-based. We also have a source saying that they are house hunting in Los Angeles, which is Meghan's hometown. And of course, we know that they're exploring all different options. They themselves said in terms of their financial independence, that was very important to them. So they're exploring, what does that look like? How can they earn money and still, in the words of one of the sources who told us previously, uphold the values of the Queen. They are really trying hard to identify which issues they want to work on and which issues are kind of the root causes of some problems that they see, and throughout the world. And they don't want to jump into anything before they have that sorted out. So I think that they're in a building phase right now. They really are writing their own rules. And a year from now, I really think we could see them blossoming on this side of the Atlantic and really breaking the mold in terms of what anyone of us have seen a royal do in the past.
And hopefully some mended relationships there as well.
Yes, I hope so too.
All right, Michelle, thank you so much for joining us today. Amazing reporting as always. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Erin.
Now, that's all we have for this special People Cover Story edition of the Royal Report. But I want to remind our viewers, while we're technically still on hiatus, we make our official return Thursday, February 13th. Can't wait to see you all next week. I'm Sharon Carpenter. Ta-ta, till next time.